When you picture a vampire, many different figures would come to mind. Over the 100 years since Bram Stoker's original novel, the Dracula story has been adapted dozens of times, most prominently with features being based off the Bela Lugosi version from 1931, which popularized distinct features such as a slick black hair, pointed ears, and a high-collared cape. While iconic, he doesn't appear too monstrous, looking more like someone's grandpa who just so happens to love listening to Susie and the Banshees and probably has an addiction to opioids. However, the first, albeit unofficial adaptation was made in Germany, being called Nosferatu. The film featured a Count Dracula renamed to Count Orlok with a much more disfigured and monstrous look, being depicted as a sort of boogeyman. This ties in with the 1922's film usage of German expressionism to exaggerate the Count and his castle, invoking the feeling of a nightmare. The German expressionism movement is perhaps best known for its use in The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. However, whereas that film took place entirely within a dark alternative world, Nosferatu starts out as a seemingly realistic depiction of early 19th century Germany. We see our protagonist, Tom Hutter, living with his beautiful wife Ellen until he is tasked by this freak to go to Transylvania to sell real estate. The build up to the castle is really well done, having a slow transition into that gothic look. There are a few harbingers which should alert Tom to the fact that this is a bad idea, like the frightened locals who refuse to drive past a certain point of Orlok's castle, but Hutter is too enamored by the job opportunity and money to return. As soon as night falls, the film starts to shift, being established by coloring the shots a dark blue, giving the night a gloomy texture. Tom is then picked up by the Count's personal carriage, which is draped in a dark fabric with both its driver and horses masked in black as well. We then see the carriage move off at a supernatural pace, adding to its otherworldly feel. This is shown perfectly in a shot where the white balance is completely distorted, with the blue giving the carriage and horses a ghostly presence. We are then shown Orlok's sharp-pointed tower, which works to be intimidating and represent how ancient the architecture is, even for its time. As the castle doors swing open, we get a first view of Count Orlok, who is presented as a cagey, slender man with a tall, bald head, long pointed ears and fingers, dark, shifty eyes, and protruding needle-like teeth. Otherwise a handsome bachelor. His creepiness is further captured by Max Schreck's uncanny physical performance, always posing seemingly uncomfortably and stalking around when he walks. As the two dine, we are shown the interior of the castle, which has drab, brutalist walls offset by ornate Gothic furniture. After a sort of awkward dinner and property sold, Tom is about to hit the hay when he realizes Orlok plans to feed on his blood while he sleeps, which, who can blame him? The stuff is a tasty snack and a great source of iron. The fact Orlok attacks when people are asleep adds to him representing a sort of folklore monster like the boogeyman, who is said to come from the darkness and kill children in their sleep, which is ridiculous, because we all know that's really Tom Cruise who does that. How do you think he stays so young? That's right, child blood. The reoccurring theme of nightmares is further established as Ellen sees Tom being attacked while she's sleepwalking. In the morning, the sunrise is represented by coloring the frames purple, which just like the blue is consistent throughout the entire film. Tom then discovers Orlok, ready to go off to Germany, being transported in a coffin, which is coincidentally how Prince Philip commonly rode around before his passing. God bless his soul. For the next portion of the film, the plot follows the slow spread of plague started by Orlok. Throughout this time, there are animals shown which are associated with fear. Everyone knows the vampire bat, but in this, there's disease-carrying mice and spiders in Renfield's cell. Additionally, the dark blues of Transylvania have now infected small-town Germany, with the scene of a blue lantern being lit, completely reminiscent of a shot in Caligari. Back on the ship, crew members are turning up dead with bite marks on their necks. So another crewmate is commanded to inspect the coffins, only for Orlok to rise out, and the crewmate is so immediately terrified he jumps ship. Orlok then climbs to the top of the boat and apparently takes over the ship, although we are not shown the captain being killed. The scene further establishes the threat that Orlok presents, being able to seize command against a burly captain and turn a grown man into a scared child. Throughout, we get a greater idea of his powers, such as morphing through walls, great strength, the moving doors with his mind, luscious lips, which is all displayed in the iconic finale. At this point, Ellen is being stalked by Orlok from across the street, until he finally gets the courage to rizz her up by climbing slowly up the stairs to attack her. He is depicted purely in shadow, establishing him further as an extension of darkness. There is then this haunting long shot of the Count draining Ellen, making the audience sit with this disturbing image. Luckily, however, things start to look up as the sun sets and Orlok is ruined in his greed. He is unable to return to his coffin and explodes into flames. It is then said that all became peaceful, almost like the plot itself had woken up from a long, ghoulish nightmare. However, there is an after-credit scene, showing Orlok back at high school as he is late to his final exam. Then his teeth start falling out and he's in his underwear. No, just kidding. That was actually in the Werner Herzog version.